What we're going to talk about today is the Replicator monitor, and we're going to take a look at some of the commands that are common to be used by clients whenever once they have a Replicator installed. Then we'll take a look at upgrade strategies and some information about upgrade or replicating versions and domain mapping, and then we'll finish off and answer any questions at the end as usual. I'm on a different phone today, so hopefully everybody can hear me all right. I think it's coming through pretty clear, so I'll just get going. Okay. So something new in this version for anyone that has any history with Replicator is in our newest versions, we've actually redesigned our monitoring pages to make it easier for you guys, the administrators, to keep track of what's actually going on within Replicator. So we've broken it out into several pages, starting with the summary page. And on that page, there's a bunch of KPIs that we're going to see in a minute, and they allow you to get a snapshot of the important information about Replicator. It's basically the health check for Replicator. The working tab is it gives you an overview of what's going on right now, because that's really a common question of, what's Replicator doing right at this moment? And that working tab will provide that answer for you. The transfers tab shows you a list of what's actually being transferred between sites. Packages is the full list of everything that you have currently in your queue. Our history page is going to give you the overall view of everything that's been done within the last several hours versus several days. And then there's a conflicts page, which will show you any current conflicts. Okay, go to the next page. So having those pages is just part of it. It's knowing when to use them as well. That's really going to help you out. So the summary page, really, anytime I recommend that you go to that. It is the default landing page whenever you go to Monitor Replicator. I'd always start there, and if you see any red or yellow boxes on that page, you're going to want to actually check to see what's going on. You can click through those KPIs and it'll tell you what's wrong. So it's a quick way to get a quick status of what's going on with Replicator. The working tab, like I mentioned, anytime that you're trying to figure out what Replicator is doing right now, that's the tab that you go to check. The packages tab, which is where a lot of people seem to get stuck, going to as the default, they go to the packages and they're always trying to figure out what's going on from that packages tab. But that doesn't tell you what's going on. It just gives you basically a list of all the packages. The working tab is where you want to go to find out what Replicator is working on right that second. Okay. The transfers window is basically, it just gives you that list. If you want to see if packages are actually in the transfer stage, then you can see if there's any active ones there. Okay. All right. The other two, they're kind of self-explanatory. We'll take a look. Okay. So we're going to go take a look at those monitor pages before I go to the PowerShell commands. Let me stop sharing this. And close all those. Close all these. A moment. Okay. So share my screen. Okay. I'll look at my training environment. So I think everyone should be able to see this now. All right, let's take a look at, so here's what we were talking about, the summary text. And you can see right here all the KPIs that are available to you. If any of these have a flag, like you'll see in my case, I had a warning on one of these, which I'll show you in a second. You want to go check it out. These will either be green, yellow, or red. So it's a quick, easy indication. So, some of these that are in here, that are available, it gives you whether or not the database connections are good, if the SharePoint timer service is running, if the bit service is running, which is great. So all of these you want to make sure are green, and that's basically the system health of this server. To keep in mind, all of these KPIs are on the box that or the server that you're currently looking at. So whatever that URL says, that's what you're looking at the KPIs for. So if you have multiple web front ends in the farm, you'd have to be at that specific URL to get the information for that. Okay. Now, under replicator configuration, in my case, I've turned off package processing for an outbound connection because I wanted to queue up some packages to show you guys today before actually letting them go out. So in order to stop them from being processed, I just disabled one of my connections. So that shows up in my KPIs here. So if I click on it, it'll actually tell you, which one is paused. So I paused it on my corporate to branch office connection. Okay. So that's why these things are great. It gives you that great visual. You can click on them, and it'll tell you if anything's wrong with specific aspects of configuration. Okay. So same thing on a Replicator Health. It tells you if our services are up and running. If you've got more than 100 errors in your event log, it's going to push this up so that you get an indication that we're logging lots of stuff in your event log as errors, so you should go take a look. Tell you if your license is valid and if your maintenance contract is valid. So some other things as well, just the local package status here. These will turn colors as if all of a sudden you've got 100 error packages in your queue for whatever reason, the indicator will show up as a red to tell you that, hey, you may want to take a look at this particular web application because it's got a bunch of errors in it. Okay. So this is always a good place to start. It'll help you narrow down what you're looking for whenever you first come in to monitor Replicator. Okay. Now, the working tab, there's not going to be anything in here right now because I have everything paused. But what this tab will show you is, you see under here, first of all, it'll show you that you have a replication engine running. That replication engine is those Windows services that we talked about the other day that do all the processing. So it'll show you right on this screen that that engine's up and running. It's all good. So things should be able to process. Under active package threads, in an active environment, you're going to see threads pop in and out of here as they go. And that's what you want to see. You want to see threads coming in and out. You don't want to see the same thread coming in all the time. And whenever I unpause the connection and let things go, I'll show you what I mean by an active package thread and what you want to look out for. Okay. Transfers, again, this is just a list of what's currently being transferred to this farm. Okay, fairly straightforward. And then we have packages. And this screen we are going to spend a little bit more time on after I explain some of the PowerShell commands that I've run to get these in here. So what this page basically is the listing of everything that's going on in your queue, either outbound or inbound. It doesn't mean that these are what's active right now. It means this is what's in the queue. This is what's getting ready to be active. Okay. Now let's go to the History tab. What the History tab allows you is an overall view of what's happened on this farm. So it tells you, for example, the two web applications that I'm dealing with on my training farm are, a port 8080 and port 80. It tells you if they're enabled. It tells you the last time it actually processed an outbound package or last time it processed an inbound package. So that gives you a little bit of an indication of, well, something's wrong. Maybe nothing's being processed. So you can actually come to this History tab and it'll give you an idea of when the last time it actually did something. And, if that time is 10 hours ago, then there's probably something wrong. Okay. What it also lets you do is all of these links here, so these three these three little icons up top. This is what's been completed, what's in a warning status, and what's in an error status. Each of these is actually a link. So if you click on these items, it would actually bring up a filtered view of the packages page, and you would see, for example, if I had any errors, if I click this link, it would bring up a filtered view of just the error packages so that I could review those. Okay? So it is handy for that. You get the ability to do, last 72 hours, last hour, so it gives you a little bit of filtering. It also gives you how much data has been transferred in the last, for the same thing up here, the last 24 hours. So I've only done, 196 meg outbound and 398 outbound on port 80 here. Okay. All right, and it also gives you an idea of how much space you're using on your hard drive. So it'll give you the what we're using as a total percentage of disk space on the system. And then we just have some server stats over here. It'll tell you how much memory is in use. That's an overall memory usage. It's not just Replicator. So it just gives you an idea, a quick glance. So, gee, my CPU's at, 80%, or my memory's at 80%. Maybe I should go see what's taxing the system so badly. Okay. And then the conflicts tab. I believe we talked about conflicts. There is a KB article available to all of you guys through knowledge base about conflict settings. But in a nutshell, what conflicts are is the classic scenario: a user on farm A and a user on farm B working on the same document at the same time. They save it at the same time. There's going to be a conflict. One of them is going to win out over the other one. And it's actually surprisingly doesn't happen as often as people would think, because the rarity of two people working on the exact same document at the exact same time, it's pretty rare. It really is. In the years that I've been working with Replicator, it's not very common. So there is a couple different settings you can set for conflicts. One is to skip the event, apply the event, and to generate conflict. The only time that you'll see anything in this tab is if you turn the generate conflict setting, because at that point it becomes a manual decision by the end user or the administrator what to do with the conflict. So they actually have to decide if they're going to accept or reject that conflict. And they'll get an email about it, and they basically have to choose at that point. So the reason this conflict tab is in here is that if the end users don't, make that decision, the Replicator administrator can come in to this conflicts tab and actually make that decision for them. Okay. All right. So that's this summary in a nutshell. Let me just get back to the presentation real quick.